Welcome back, everybody, to more SSL Premier. We are 2/5 of the way through. 2 of our best of 3s are done, and we're going to be jumping into a TVZ this time, Maru versus Byul.
Yeah, and then both of these players have been almost, if not the best player of their race at one point in time. For Maru, it was a little bit more brief. He's more been in that pool of great players known as the Four Horsemen. But he's kind of been unseated. I think there's a special word for being knocked off your horse, but that's kind of been happening to him, and maybe Gumiho taking his seat a little bit. So he definitely has a lot to prove after a shaky week last week, getting 0-2'd by Classic. And even though you can see the head-to-head is very in his favor, Byul's a great Zerg player who's also been a little bit shaky as well.
This is definitely the hardest prediction of the entire day for me, for you, for everybody out there. I know that me and Wolf, we disagreed on After Hours. I was thinking that Maru was going to take it, and that he thought that Byul was going to take it. I think you're more on the Byul camp, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I want to kind of switch over to the Maru side because Byul.
We're happy to have you.
Well, you're not wrong, but for Byul, he's seen the highest of highs, but also kind of the lowest of lows, being eliminated from GSL by another Terran player, Forte. So now Maru going up against him as well, continuing on with that, what did I want to say, historic win rate. Yeah, really, really great performances by him, at least in this matchup. And he's had to play 2 of the best Protoss players so far, and he's lost both of those matchups. So I feel like he can actually come back and take the win here tonight against Byul.
Yeah, that was part of my rationale for why I thought he would take this one. He hasn't really had a chance to prove his TVZ, at least on the SSL stage, since last season. And meanwhile, we were seeing, both of these guys are 0-2. They're both not doing well. That also makes it hard to predict, but I feel like the losses from Byul were a little bit more harsh, a little bit faster, a little bit more one-sided. And I do have more confidence in one of these players, but Byul's definitely got a chance. I predict one player, but this is, as I said before, the most even matchup in my mind for tonight.
All right, it is certainly very even, so like I said, we've all given our predictions. If you guys have predictions, get out there and share them, either on community site or on Twitter. Let us know, hashtag that SSL, or tweet at RapidCasting or at Brendan Valdez, and let us know who you think is going to take this best of 3 series between Byul and Maru.
Fly, better fly. Jin Air.
All right.
We did it.
We've got it. We have the synergy.
We're getting our
cheers.
fan cheer done.
I'm a hashtag big fan of not only the big fans behind us in these Jin Air rotors, but also of Jin Air. And those are our players, Maru and Byul.
Maru, he is part of Jin Air, and he got a gigantic cheer.
He did.
From the crowd. So the fan cheers have gotten on points so far. Where's this drone going? He's scouting for a 2-Rex.
Ah, okay.
He knows Maru too well.
Okay, so a little less mining time, but a lot more safety and security and peace of mind. Byul will know that there's nothing too crazy coming his way, and Maru rather has been, I think sort of like Byun light lately. In his TVZ, he has gone for a lot of double. Like 2-Rax Reapers, 3-Rax Reapers, and it just hasn't worked out. His control just isn't good enough. Byun's Reaper style is one of those things that's like often imitated, never duplicated. So this time around, he's not going to go for that, and I feel like this is kind of a rarity lately. We've seen a lot of Terrans go for this massive Reaper style, even internationally. We had DreamHack Valencia coming up last weekend, and it was insane how many Terrans just went for that build regardless, and it just didn't work out most of the time because you have to be so good at it.
You have to you have to be one with the grenades. That's basically what it is. You have to have good micro, good movement, of course, but it really comes down to your grenade predictions, the positioning, the prediction of the Zerg movements, and knowing exactly how these units move. So not everybody can do it. Not everybody can duplicate it. Pretty much Byul is the one person who has been most consistent with it, and it makes sense because he's one of the creators here.
Yeah, so we're going to see a more standard game this time around, and I don't want to make it sound like that's the only build that Terrans do against Zerg players. Recently casting the Ballistics Cup, we got a chance to see Byul go, I think he was playing versus Lucira, and he just never built multiple Rax Reapers. It was really kind of strange. He just only did macro builds. I was like, oh, wow, okay. Well, that's definitely a way to play as well, and so that's the style Maru is going for this time around. Just the Scouting Reaper, which should be fended off, and these Zerglings on creep. Oh, wow, he actually lost the Zergling.
Yeah.
Wow. See, this is what I know. This is the style of play that I'm pretty much used to. It's like, okay, you killed a Zergling. Wow, that's the victory you get with your Reaper.
But he got 2.
Wow.
He did the damages.
So crazy.
Got a good scout there on the timing of the third base, too. Byul somehow snuck a drone by the Reaper. And we got a Cyclone on the way.
Yep, that's what's happening. Also, this is where we cast off the production tab. There's a Stargate also being built. It's a starport, not a gate.
Yeah, but that Cyclone is really interesting. I mean, you don't see it all too often. He already has 2 Marines in position to deal with the Overlord. What is he going to do after this? Okay, just 1 Cyclone, so I assume this is just a very defensive Cyclone. He's not making any more.
He's going to lift his buildings, float them out, and kill the Overlord that's hovering over that promontory in the middle of the map.
Sickest build.
I got it, man.
What did you call it? A promontory?
That's what it is.
What does that mean?
It's a little thing that juts out. Usually it juts sideways and it's a piece of land, but that thing is jetting up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so killing off the Zerglings and lifting everything up into the medevac. Sick control there.
He revealed the Cyclone.
He did. But now it's boosting across the map, and that'll give Byul maybe not too much time to prepare for it. Although he is making 12 lings, it'll be done by the time it gets there. So this should be easy for Byul to defend.
Look at the Scout, too. He sees that cloak, and that's going to be very key to make sure. You can see he's already making those spores just in case. Here comes the Cyclone.
All right, so the Cyclone, when positioned correctly, can kill a bajillion Zerglings, and especially these Hellions coming up, also capable of killing basically the same number, but especially when they hit at the same time, this is going to be a major vulnerability for Byul, who will have to deal with this Cloak Banshee coming up as well.
Yeah, Byul, at least he does get the Scout, but Armory about to finish. We'll see what he can do with these 4 Hellions, about to be Hellbats, fighting against these Queens. The Cyclone is particularly good at that. You see he's microing against these Lings. Does get it surrounded, though.
Wait,
he's going to morph into Hellbats, but that's too late.
That was, in fact, not morphing time, Valdez. He had a great lined-up shot with the Hellions, but he just decided to morph them instead, and now he's going to lose all of his Hellions on creep to Speedlings? Yeah, I feel like we've gotten really good. This is where we channel our SSL challenge power, where we basically just spend half the game going, ugh.
It's the Korean caster style.
Oh, that is true. We don't actually have analysis. We just make funny sounds.
We just make sounds, yeah.
Like it. That is definitely the alpha brain at the bottom of the casting style meme.
Best casters actually don't cast. They just make sounds.
You know, it sounds like a joke, but it's actually pretty true in a lot of situations. So that will maybe make these Banshees hang a little bit further back. Look at Byul, he just morphs an Overseer right next to the Banshee. He's like, no, you can't cloak here.
I see you. Yeah, this is Byul in a super comfortable spot. He's going to add even a macro hatchery here.
He stealth kills the creep tumors. All right, man, sick play. But he is still getting out there, being active with the Banshee, is trying to get every little advantage, so you really can't fault him for that. That's micro I wouldn't do if I were playing this, so you really can't fault it. But suffice it to say, less damage done with these Banshees than he would have liked.
Overseer sees the mech that is on the way. We got +1.
The mech.
Yeah, he does. Exactly. We'll see how long he oversees as he's still alive in that base. But double factory on the way. Nothing but Hellions, Cyclones, +1 vehicle weapons. And you can see he's going for Roach Hydra. At least that's the plan, eventually.
Yeah, I'm mixing in a lot of Hydras with this. Is something we see a lot of Zerg players go for more recently. Don't often see the Roaches in there, but especially against this mech style, Hydras, their DPS is just so high that you can tank a couple of tank shots, especially if you run Zerglings in first, and then just mow down everything, especially if this is like the Thor variety of battle mech that we've seen guys like Gumiho popularize. So lots of queens up front that'll push these Banshees back, taking out both of them. Wow, not the greatest control there by Maru, and he might lose everything to Speedlings.
He has a ton of energy for Transfuse, and everything gets surrounded. Not gonna happen, Maru. You attacked at not the best time. He was trying to get there before any Roaches, Hydras did make it on the map, but, I mean, he's already so far behind. I think in this position, you just turtle up, make tanks, and try to secure a third base. But attacking, well, you guys saw exactly how that went.
Yeah, not well. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you guys weren't watching, definitely did not go well. Another scout by Byul. He gets another Overlord in there. He's just hovering over everything, basically, and is literally overseeing what Maru is doing.
So this is another interesting thing. You see the Thors in production here for Maru. What I was just saying about the Thors not being all that, being countered rather by this high Hydralisk composition, especially when you have the Roaches now in front to tank. I mean, that's just going to be a little bit rough to deal with. He's kind of doing the thing that you would do with Bio, where you scan and take out a bunch of creep tumors and eventually come pressure bases. But I mean, with his army just really mitigated earlier, this is just going to run right into an even more difficult to deal with Zerg forest.
He needs tanks. He needs them fast. He's making his first 2 right now, but already a pretty decent Zerg army is moving across the map, trying to pick off these units.
He'll actually take down the Overseer. It does its Overseer thing where it hoops out the Changelings. Nobody cares about those, but 2 Thors will be out in time for this. I just don't know if they're going to be what he needs to defend.
There's the tank, the hero tank. He's got to get over there. And he is going to be protected by a lot of these units, so Byul, just with not enough stuff, he's really trying to punish Maru hard, but I'm not really sure if this is going to work. He needs to get the Corrosive Biles on the tank, but he's not getting them. He used them in the front line.
He didn't save the Corrosive Biles. That's really strange timing. So now he has 2 Thors, which are killing Infinity units. Look at that micro. Great control by Maru.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I mean, he loses a bunch of SCVs, but definitely not the execution we were hoping from Byul. And I mean, he was going hard. He's staying on 64 drones. He's had his 4th base denied twice. So he was getting a little bit desperate, saying, oh, I need to go over there, kill him before he has a high tank count. But again, as we were saying, you need the Corrosive Biles for the tanks, and he just did not have them. So that attack is going to fail. Maru holds on. We might have ourselves a game here.
Yeah, Byul kind of overcommitting, pulling the trigger a little bit early on that push, and with, like you said, those hero tanks coming out, those got a lot of damage. The Thors being microed very, very well in the back, just great control there. Maru is still a great player, and it seems like kind of the popular thing now is to say, he's not doing very well lately. But he still just has all that control that has made him such a great player this entire time. And he's still actually just always going to be one of the best Terran players in the world. Well, not always, but you get the idea.
Not forever and always, but for now.
Yeah, for now.
For the immediate forever.
Absolutely capable of pulling this back, even though he did have a couple of thwarted attacks early on.
Yeah, so Byul coming in here, once again, you see is maxing on Roach, Ravager, Hydra still, but more importantly, nice wall, by the way. That's really cool.
You don't really see the Hydra walls. You see Lurker walls in Brood War, but with Hydras, I guess that's an effective way to keep those Hellions out.
Worked out there for sure. You got the high ground, you can see them, you got the better range. It's pretty cool, but Hive on the way for Byul. Still has a very scary army. And Maru's still struggling to get a 4th base as Byul tries to take his 5th. So definitely still have Byul with some very scary tech on the way. See that Maru's already making Vikings 2 at a time, though. So he's very well prepared ahead of time. Maybe he's just saying, like, oh, that attack was really bad. Maybe that's because you're teching at the same time.
Well, I think what Maru has calculated, based on that last attack not working out, is that will just barely give him enough time to turtle up and get a 3-3 mech Ultra Bio Ball, or not, what am I saying? Death Ball. There we go.
The Ultra Super Mega Bio Ball.
There's no bio there, unless you count Hellbats, which can be healed for some reason. But here we go. It's Byul trying to push through this. This is just way too many tanks.
Yeah, I think in that situation, you just gotta get in there, Corrosive Bile, back off.
I love how
you are going to attack.
We have the gore turned off, so it's just black splatters everywhere. Blood doesn't exist in Zerg units.
Was it really? I have blood on my screen.
Yeah, but this is
sucks for you guys.
Yeah, nobody else gets to see it.
I get to see the blood. Yeah. I'm so hardcore like
Imagine
that.
being a child who has parents who go into all their games and turn the gore off. It's like, no, son, you can't know what blood is yet. I had very similar things happening when I was growing up.
You shouldn't know what blood is.
Like, is that a violent game? Is that one of those?
Hey, turn that off. Are things dying?
Is that the Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Yeah, no, we've got the black splotches on the map for now. But now, very good setup here for Maru. He has a very deep tank line. He has the air control. He's got the Vikings there to push in, but look at the blinding clouds on top of almost every single tank. Takes a while to get all the way back to the back, but that should allow Byul's force to crush through Maru's army.
The blinding clouds are really what broke the camel's back here. That huge tank line that he had, just a little bit too bunched up, and the Thors were too late too. So Maru moving out before he was truly ready and wasn't ready for those Vipers.
Great timing there. I never thought I'd compare a blinding cloud to straw, but they do have that in common, Valdez. And there's just too much Zerg here. Byul taking this opportunity and pouncing all over Maru's, well, what used to be an army.
Yeah, you gotta take it all out, and that should be game number one, going over to Byul, as Maru's attempt to go mech after 2 thwarted attacks is not going to work out on Newkirk Precinct. He's lifting the buildings. He's not ready to leave the game.
No, I mean, he's got a couple of siege tanks back here in the back, so maybe you defend against this, but, I mean, with more and more forces being paraded across the map, this will not be successful. It's like, okay, we get the golf claps, Maru survives for now, but once Byul regroups here, he's just going to yank everything in, including the victory. Eventually. He just has to... Did that tank siege while it was in the air? I don't know. I've never seen that interaction before.
Maru, he's landed his 3rd base again.
I'm pretty sure he can actually just abduct every single unit that Maru has.
GG.
Finally, the fantasy GG timing comes out, and Byul will take game number 1 against Maru.
So Maru with not the best showing there in Newkirk Precinct. Not the game I was looking for, but Byul having a little bit of trouble ending that one. There were a couple of strange attacks that we were questioning, like, that didn't really make sense, but at the end of it all is the victor.
I feel like Maru is like the ditto of Terran. That guy that is actually just super good and has good stats, but he goes around copying other builds. So he'll copy Byul's Mass Reaper and do it like 98% effectively, but it's the 2% that wins you the games. So he's like, well, I did it pretty good. It's like, no. You have to be perfect. That mech style we've seen guys like Gumiho just own, just develop, and that's his thing. He tries it out and ultimately loses a little bit too much progressively over the course of the game. And he even still got there to the very late game, like almost 3-3 big mech army. But by now, Byul had just enough of an economy to have, I think, what was it, 6 Vipers, and just more blinding clouds than he needed.
Yeah, so the one thing I always quote when we get into situations like this with certain players is lack of practice, right? And that's what you're saying, right? The copying of the builds, that's just another thing that denotes kind of that Maru is not practicing too much. And we saw his play. He was one of the 4 horsemen. He was going down slowly, but now he's copying other builds. And don't get me wrong, this happens all the time in StarCraft. You see a sick build, and it looks really good. But in combination with his slow descent from the top, I think this might denote him maybe practicing a little bit less in my mind.
Why are you talking about practice? I'm over here trying to analyze StarCraft. You talk about practice.
Talking about practice.
You talk about practice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get into game number 2 here coming up. So that one we can talk about something a little bit different. So let's go ahead and get into game number 2. Maru versus Byul.
we go, jumping into map number 2, Frost. Between this Terran and the other Zerg. Up in the top right, it is Maru from the Gen Air Green Wings.
Oh, I thought you were trying not to spoil it, just in case people don't know yet. Well, this is our purple Zerg player. His name is Byul, and that is his body. There are many like it, but this one is his.
Byul's body. Let's make a thread. Not quite up to the level of Nada, but maybe someday.
Watch him just come back next season super jacked.
Yeah, that might happen to a bunch of the casters out here.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You guys been going to the gym?
Starting to go to the gym.
All the time, waiting for it. Eventually, next season, we'll just be able to bust through these shirts, rip them off, go into Hulk caster mode.
You think they look tight now? We'll just wait for Season 3.
Yeah, it turns out Wolf wears like one size smaller caster shirt than I do, so they kind of poured me into this one. Still waiting. Every time I take a drink of water, one of the buttons pops off. One more drink, and I'm just...
It's going to be the end of that shirt, man.
Okay, well, here we go. Maru's going to try out an early aggressive Reaper build. I don't know if this is going to quite be those 3 racks, but we'll see how hard he decides to go. Still need to really scout the direction that your opponent spawns in with this as well. I mean, even if you don't, you still have a big ball of Reapers with which to exert your dominance on the map, but we'll see how well it works out for Maru.
Yeah, not making that 3rd racks just yet. We'll see if he does make a 3rd one. There it is, up on the high ground. Gonna be hidden for now from that Overlord. As Byul actually getting the lucky scout going up towards the north with this Overlord.
So this is really good. And he'll also turn around. I think that was scouted out by the SCV, which was a little bit further forward. But okay. He was so concerned with not giving away the position of the Overlord that he doesn't actually see the build that's coming. I feel like that's probably what the Overlord is there for, but I think he might actually loop back and do another pass, and we'll eventually be able to see what's coming his way, because you don't want to have built 3 hatcheries if you're going to be coming up against 3 racks Reaper.
And you can kind of infer some information, too. If you hug the right side, you see no CC, you're saying, oh, okay, no CC just yet. That probably is Reapers or some kind of tech build.
Some information?
Yes.
If you will.
I like that, actually.
That's what you get.
Information.
Information. That's the way everybody back home says it.
Yeah.
All right, well, at least 1 Reaper coming forward, so this will look normal. We've seen every Terran player tonight go for exactly this build. The 1 scouting Reaper comes in, sees what's happening, maybe kills his drone or a Zergling, and then gets back out. But now the Overlords will see that, in fact, it is a massive number of Reapers that will coalesce around Maru's base, or Byul's base.
Yeah, and just looking at the timing, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like Byul did not go for pool first, so is going to have that gas delayed for quite a long time. It is coming up pretty soon, but these Reapers can have their way before it does get out on the map.
Great control. And so one of the things that I was talking with a couple of other casters about when it came to just how strong this Reaper style looks is that over time, I mean, we are the human force that is, existed on this planet Earth. We've overcome things like, smallpox and, tons of extremely impressive achievements. And so when you put the force of human focus on something, it just gets a whole lot of attention that tends to be pretty effective. And so when you do this style over and over and over again, Zergs get good at dealing with it. I think one of the first people to really crush it and shut it down was guys like Su, who went for very early speedlings and was able to really surround it against players who weren't beyond. And I feel like Maru, we've seen him time and time again try this Mass Reaper build and either overcommit. He doesn't know how many Reapers he's supposed to stop at. When do you go in? Where do you put the mines? Just little tiny things. They're just barely off enough to where it doesn't wind up working out. But basically what I was saying with all of that is that over time, builds get figured out. Even if they are very strong, they become less strong, not through changes, but just because people get better at dealing with them.
Yeah, that's the way the meta works. You're breaking it down one by one. And yeah, you can see that Maru, you were talking about, he's not sure exactly how many Reapers to make. He's just pumping them out 3 by 3. He's not attacking. He backed off right before his speed finished, which was smart, but I'm just curious, how many Reapers is he going to make here? Because we're already at 13. we're going to go up to a healthy 16 in just a moment.
Yeah. Now, the important thing is to hide these from overlords. It's actually really potent when you pull back with your Reapers and your opponent thinks, okay, well, that's it. And then you come back with, I think Byul did this, but when he pulled back, he wound up with 33 Reapers. And then you just run them over into the ground. Like, what a comically large number of units. It doesn't look like we're quite going to hit that meme level, but we are going to have a ton of Reapers across the map, and Byul probably won't expect this until now.
Yeah, he's going to see this, and we've seen this build before, too, where you go for 16 Reapers and you have the 2 Medivacs, and you use that. It just increases the efficiency by even just that much more. So definitely gets kind of scary for the Zerg.
So I thought Maru would actually kill the Zergling at the Watchtower, but I think that was actually just the sound of it activating. So it won't be revealed until, I guess, just right now, and this actually could kill off this Baneling nest if he gets the right angle, but he's going to be coming up from around behind, and there's not enough to... there's just enough to save all of these Reapers, pull them all out, and try to take a different approach to this. But, I mean, Reapers kind of get on a little bit of a timer. Anytime you're not being in there killing off Banelings, Zerglings, or microing your heart out, the Zerg player just gets to build a ton of units. And, maybe that kind of works against them if you hit your mines right, but that's not really what Maru is doing.
So you can surround the Reapers when you have 2 Medivacs, which is what makes it really scary. Even that one Reaper slips by as Byul decides not to kill it, and Maru is playing this very passively. He's very...
Oh, the Liberator hitting at the same time is going to force drones to be pulled there. Really, really tough to deal with, so much all at once, but here he goes. Byul trying to get on top of this. I think he's just wasting mines and making sure these Reapers aren't killing any drones and trying to hang on until he can deal with this Liberator. Oh no, he's going to run the Queen, and the Queen's going to die!
Not the best dealing of this Reaper right now from Byul. I mean, he's already taken 10 drone losses. He's down to 45 drones because he overcommitted. And what are you going to do with just Lings and Banes against that many Reapers in Medivacs?
Oh no, 18 drones falling in the end there. Not respecting the time it takes that Spore Crawler to kill the Liberator. That's a ton of drone losses, now down to only 40 workers.
Byul's just really having a difficult time dealing with these Medivacs, and you can see it coming through. He's trying to get the surrounds, but there's absolutely nothing you can do. And he took the 3rd base at the location, where he can go to the high ground, and there's basically nothing that Byul can do with these Ling Banes.
Yeah, that's really the most ridiculously difficult place to deal with Reapers against. There's also a bunch of other units. Basically, you just get on the high ground. Siege Tank drops pretty effective at shutting that base down too. Just very vulnerable, but you don't want to expand towards your opponent. So it's like, well, what do?
I think in this case you kind of have to, or you have to get out some other units that are not just Ling Bane.
Scan will scout the counterattack coming in here. Byul doesn't leave a whole lot of forces back in his base to defend, and now the Speedling's coming back. It's going to be a attempt at a flank.
Yeah, and he does have a crap load of Ling Bane, so it is going to be good against the Marines, but again, Maru does have 4 Medivacs and the Queens. Because there's no creep up there, they can't get close enough to push the Medivacs back.
Well, the Medivacs are, in fact, returned to the base, and there's plenty of mines there as well. I think Maru's just going to pull back and wait for a couple of upgrades before returning. I mean, he still has the Reapers down there to pressure, but I think that their time might be coming to a close, especially with his +1 about to complete, and even more Zerglings in production.
Okay, he's going to come in here.
Catching the mines. No, he didn't kill the mines in time! And a huge one will take out a bunch of his forces. Tons of Banelings and Zerglings going down.
Yeah, it does get on top of those, and he's trying to go for a counterattack here. He will be able to easily shut down that 3rd base.
Oh,
so.
And I think this might be where Maru falls apart, though. He lost a little bit too much there up at the front. Finally, the Reapers are starting to go down. And he's not even controlling a few of those Marines at the front door. We'll lose plenty of them. Not the worst mine hit up there at the front.
He's got more where that came from. I'm glad that Maru eventually added in these Widow Mines. It is the answer to the composition that Byul is doing, and There's still no mining at the third base. Byul's been on 2 bases essentially for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, a little bit of a shakiness here on both sides, but I think Maru might just have enough. He'll be able to kill off everything at the third, including the base itself. He does have to watch out from counterattacks coming his way, but there's just nothing but speedlings here, and even that wall should be enough to take this out.
Yeah, and it looks like, ooh,
a little bit of friendly fire.
Losses. GG, Maru takes game number 2.
That's it. Wow. Not the best control by either player, but I feel like Maru in the end just had too good of a position there by the third base. Just really never let that be productive.
Yeah, so Maru, he had a good build. I like what he did, but again, pretty shaky, as you were talking about. There were times where he couldn't deal with the lings coming in. He was late on burrowing a bunch of his Widow Mines on time, and I think there was only one good Widow Mine hit, and that was about it.
There was one, and it was actually pretty good. That's one that if we did instant replays, we'd go back and show just to make sure that everybody saw how good it was. But it was actually pretty good, but overall, Widow Mines were a little bit lackluster. The Reapers got in there and actually did a decent amount of damage, but that wasn't the, where we grab our chairs and hold on for the Maru's Wild Ride level of Reaper control. So in the end, he does come out on top, but who's going to take this final game in the series, Valdez?
I'm feeling Byul, actually. I think if he doesn't get into that position and he actually deals with the Reaper without a high ground, he should be in a good spot. So let's jump into game number 3 and find out. Jumping into Overgrowth for game number 3. Down in the bottom left, the blue Terran, it is Maru.
There he is. Winning that previous game. Went with the Mass Reaper style. His opponent in the purple in the upper right-hand corner, this is Byul. And, one of the things I want to talk about is sort of a hallmark of Byul's style. Wolf mentioned this in the After Hours with Wolf and that Valdez guy. He was saying that, he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
Wears the same shirt as I do. Yeah. Our moms dress us alike sometimes. The style that Byul actually became first popular for was a heavy defensive macro style, and then great Muta control. He almost always went for Muta, especially in this matchup, and just got so much damage done with it that it gave him a lot of victories in very key situations. And so it looks like Byul will have to deal with the same style coming back his way in this final game of the series. But one thing that Wolf mentioned was that if Byul did go for that macro or Muta style, that was what might give him the victory. And I think that's why Wolf did vote for Byul in the end. But he's not even getting a chance to go to that style.
Maybe on this map, I think in Season 1 against Innovation, he did that kind of style where he went for mutas, and he almost took the game. He had some sick harassment moments at the third base and the fourth base of Innovation. So if he does get room, if he deals with the Reapers, perhaps he transitions into that style. I really do like that style from Byul, as you were mentioning. But Maru's going to try for this again. And this time he doesn't have that Frost high ground.
Mm-hmm. And he's also not going for the third racks. It's just going to be 2 racks Reapers. So usually this shuts off a little bit faster.
Yeah. Made that third racks on the high ground in game 2, but not going to go for it, as you mentioned. Maybe he'll get Byul to assume that he is going for 3 racks, but not committing as hard as he actually is.
The Overlord also will scout this earlier this time. If you remember in game number 2, Byul's Overlord pulled back just a little bit. Reaper grenading the Queen back a little bit. But it's only one, so it won't be too super crazy. There are going to be a few more, and that Overlord will see what's coming. But knowing that it's just the 2 barracks, he might actually think that it's the 3 racks if he doesn't move far enough into the base and see that. Because usually you do come in with 2 Reapers, and then you start seeing them in higher multiples. But pulling it back, decent control. But I think Maru is actually going to transition out of this style and move into more standard tank play.
Yeah, you can see that Byul does get the scout there with the Overlord, so good job with that. No Marine just yet to deal with this Overlord, so he's just chilling. And Maru will go into the faster tech up into that factory. We'll see what he does want to do from here.
That is a ton of Zerglings out there, and it's designed to deal with this mass Reaper style. Kind of something you just have to build if you want to live. But crucial realization by Byul, he's droning behind this. So he is actually going to go ahead and get his economy back up after spending so much on those Zerglings to make sure he was alive. 10 drones just now popping.
Yeah, he wanted to make those a little bit sooner, but as you were saying, it is good that he realizes by now, and he didn't play it safe with the Overlord, so going to throw out that third base a little bit late. Not the most comfortable position, but again, the Reapers also haven't done too much. He's only sitting on 7. Looks like he's going to go up to 8. Maybe he'll just do the 1 Reaper drop.
Well, this is going to be Hellbats on the way here, starting out with the Reactor Hellions and, of course, Armory about to complete as well. And man, we got a chance to see what Maru's mech style looks like, and it was just a little bit off. So I'm hoping it goes better this time around, but Byul, seeing the Reapers, will be able to scout those barracks out and find out that, well, they're not coming out anymore.
Yeah, but here we go, coming across the map. He almost gets surrounded there. Thankfully, Maru was on the ball, and I think one of them actually died. He's only got 7 Reapers here, so one of them did die in the exchange. So going to take a little bit of power off of that, but here we go. 2 Hellions and 7 Reapers coming in to try to do some damage at the third base.
Now, the great part about Reapers is that they're not just an early harass unit or a unit that you build a million of and win the game with. They do have utility as your army beefs up. It turns out that you can't really do a whole lot when you're flying back in the air after being hit by a grenade. So a lot of times what's cool about pairing them with Hellions is that if you get a big Reaper grenade hit, then units will fly up into the air, and that gives the Hellions time to sit there and fire. Now, these are Hellbats coming in, so we'll see how effective that combo is with them, but pretty beefy here as these Banelings try to come forward and connect. It's actually the Queens that push this back.
Yeah, not enough Hellbats, as Byul did a really nice job of defending, and trying to go for the surround now, but the grenade knocks some of those Lings behind. Thankfully, some follow-up grenades were enough.
Really great job dealing with the Liberators this time around by Byul. He takes them out, only losing a couple of drones, and he most importantly has the Zerglings to keep these Reapers off of his back. And no way Reapers can really get through a wall of like 4 or 5 Queens, so Byul's holding things together. Also should be noted that the positions he's expanding to are much easier to defend against Reapers this time around.
Yeah, gotta be happier with Overgrowth this time, and we do see that Maru is going for double engineering bay and the stim, so no mech this time around. Is just going for heavy harassment with Hellbats to start. Really wants to force Byul to not macro up. You were talking about how that was one of his big strengths, and if Maru can deny him that macro with plays like this, he's sniping Baneling after Baneling, then he's going to be pretty happy with this engage.
This is the point in the game where Byul just has to kill off what is his most imminent threat. So first off, it's the Reapers. You just push them back, whatever it takes. Next up, it's the Hellbats. You just have to invest whatever it takes, even if it's a ton of Banelings. But I feel like now it could be where things are a little bit stretched a little bit too thin, as now it's not only Hellbats, Hellions, but also a bunker now in construction with Marines and Stim on the way.
Yeah, Maru isn't joking with this. There's not enough Banelings to get in there on time. They don't have speed because the lair is so late. And now here we go. The Queen's moving forward. A big Baneling hit there is going to be really key, and that should force Maru back.
Wow, yeah, great control there by
He lost the medevac.
MVP Queens even take out the medevac. Oh my god. All right, well, Byul really just hanging on here. He always has just barely enough to deal with whatever Maru sends his way. You know, Maru, like you were talking about, Valdez, is doing this thing where he sort of yo-yos back and forth. He goes for the Reapers, and then the Hellions, and then the Hellbats, and now he's back to Bio and maxing out on that next. So a little bit all over the place. Byul seems able to deal with it all.
That's not the Maru that we knew from, 2014-15, where he was microing against Protosses with a couple of Marauders, dropping on Colossi and microing individual Marauders to get there. I mean, the control overall, it looks okay, but at times it just looks like his multitasking is failing. He's not looking at his units when he needs to be. If he didn't take that Baneling hit, he would have been in a great spot, and he could have continued to push.
Yep.
Nice drop here in the main, though.
Not the Maru that we used to know, indeed. He is being counterattacked right now, so he's going to have to do two things at the same time. Byul, although on top of the drop in his main, will be able to push that back as he runs by with a couple of lings and takes out some SCVs and a building or two. Forces a lift, though, most importantly. This really high queen count from Byul is being super effective. We want to see more Zerg players do that so we can finally get a feel about exactly whether or not that's something that you just need to do in order to be totally safe. Maru also uncharacteristically supply blocked after losing a couple of those supply depots, so that is highly unfortunate. He'll also lose the majority of his Reapers out on the map.
Having trouble keeping up with Byul here is Maru, as we were talking about before. Byul, he's committed to this kind of counterattack style a ton, especially on this map, as I was saying, as he did against Innovation, and Innovation dealt with it and won the game.
Yeah, and
Maru is not.
Yeah, no, Maru not dealing with that at all. There's no depot wall there. There's nothing left back at home to defend. He's just going forward, maybe putting a little bit too much stock in this one big push.
Ooh, that Widowmine hit. It could have been better. It hit the front Baneling, and funnily enough, the positioning of those Banelings, that second one was pretty good.
It also could have been way better if those Banelings had all gotten killed at the same time, too. But the Widowmines are dece, as Brennan Valdez would say.
Yeah, that's how I do. But, yeah, I mean, just the one Baneling ahead of the other 7 or 8 or so was enough to redirect that Widowmine. Might be a strategy we see a lot more in the future. Kind of hard to do on the fly, but nice bit of harass overall, but Byul does deal with it.
Maru also dealing with the counterattacks there. It seems as if now that his attention has been pulled back. Did that Widowmine get a chance to fire? I didn't quite catch that. It seemed like it was just about to shoot, and now finally gets taken out. Whoa! Why is that Widowmine there? That's a little bit interesting positioning. Just try to catch the Lings running in, and eventually there will be enough Marines to take that out. So Maru stabilizing, Byul pretty stable. He's going to have to deal with this drop, but he should be more than ready. He's going to lose that queen, maybe. Yeah, it falls, but so should everything else.
Yeah, he does take out that queen, and I like what he's doing. We see this a lot on Overgrowth in TVZ, where you drop the main, draw the units into there, and then you attack the 4th or the 3rd, depending on the timing in the game. So Maru, he is trying to do that. Still some good, smart moves out of him.
Whoa, okay. Not the greatest mine hit. At least it didn't hit the Hydras in the back, though. But Byul trying to defend this 4th base. He knows that's sort of the point of contention. He's dealt with all the drops going into his main, and so now can turn his entire defension to repelling Maru, or his entire attention.
Detention.
I meant to say like defension, like defensive attention.
Yeah.
I'm going to coin that one.
You just made a new word.
I'm going to pretend like I
think
meant
you just
to do
made
that.
a new word.
Defension.
Defension.
Hell yeah.
I like
all right. So, I'm creating new...
Artosis would be proud. I hope he's watching.
I still made my favorite word of all time with that guy, incredibliest.
Incredibliest?
Yeah.
I like defension better, actually.
I think calling it a reactory was also pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool.
I wish that would catch on more often.
You just gotta push it. You
I
gotta say
own
it more.
Yeah. All right, so Lurker aspect about to be completed there. Indeed, it will finish. Ooh. Ever noticed how the Zerg buildings just look like a big version of the unit? So you got to think, like, if a drone can become a building that looks a lot like the unit, that's just massively sized, like, what if it just, kept evolving and eventually just became a giant version of the unit?
That'd be pretty damn cool.
StarCraft 3.
Maybe someday.
Designers, now you know. All right, decent hits there. Every time I say that, I think of the word "dece" now.
Yeah.
Oh man,
you're
in.
You've caught the bug, the dece bug. It's pretty dece if I say so myself.
Oh my god, you're a. What do I want to call you? Corrupting me.
Yes, I am. I don't play Zerg though, but either way.
Distance mining from the gold base.
Yeah, we got that orbital flying over from the main.
It's fly better flying there.
Yeah. Non-stop attacking from Maru. This is what he's known for, the parade push, attacking 2 locations.
Now he's going to get here before the Lurkers can burrow. They're going to run forward and try to get good positions. And indeed they will, because there's just so much Zerg coming up behind them. This will totally push Maru back and now force him to be on the defensive.
Byul did taste very far off the creep.
I think. Yeah. Okay, no longer on the defensive.
He needs to shift his defension towards the mid because we got a couple of drops coming in.
Well said, Valdez.
Yes.
That rhymes.
Indeed. And there's nothing there right now. So he can move in. That spawning pool is at about half health, and he's going to draw that defension in there as he goes towards the fourth. Should be able to take out the spawning pool if he clicks on it.
Yeah, so that will go down. Zergune is just kind of parading in there one by one. That is not what you want to do. Losing that spawning pool, it'll be rebuilt pretty quickly. So even though no more Zerglings can be built right now, plenty of Hydras on the way.
I love what Maru does. It seems like he's getting into his groove in this game where he always loves to take tiny little fights across the map over and over and over again. He chips away at you. He's not going for that one big timing push. He's no innovation. He tries to get in there, snipe a Hydra, back off, heal his units, snipe a couple of Lings and Banes and back off, draw your units out of position, take a good trade on the left side and back off, and win in the eventual late game that he gets to. So it seems like he's gotten to that point in this game, and that makes me happy as a guy who voted for Maru.
All right, yeah. Gotta say, man, those wolf votes, not like they actually. You guys predicted mostly the same thing. You've been totally right. So at least for this occasion, it's coming down to the wire, and this certainly looks like the most even game of them all.
Hatchery.
The hatchery will fall, and indeed it does. So nice pick off there. Maru's multitasking, just finally being able to stretch Byul too thin. Lead.
Yes, he's getting that into his groove, as I was saying before. And
but now able to take out that medevac before it does anything else. Good pick off there by Byul, just really trading blows back and forth. But losing that hatchery is going to be a little bit too much. These Liberators will be taken out with only minimal losses. Nice transfuses on the Hydras to keep him alive as well.
The question is, can he deal with the standing army of Byul? This is a nice little chip away at the Hydras that got off creep. But again, he has total map control, Maru, in this situation because he's got Byul in his base being super defensive with his lurkers. Byul still hasn't even remade that fourth. He's just trying to get a super big army, but he's running out of economy to do with it. But meanwhile, Maru, he floats to the gold. He makes another command center at the fourth. And Byul's now on a timer, and he knows it. He needs to go attack.
Well, and going for these lurkers, too, not the most mobile unit composition. Kind of showing a big change there is he avoids going for the massively mobile mutas and goes for these little slower lurkers instead. Maru just running him ragged.
He's doing it. All those Banelings off creep. Byul just got desperate, and that's going to do it. GG. Maru takes the 2-1 victory and is not going to be O2 anymore.
Wow, yeah, great performance there, Maru. You could really tell, like, Byul gave him a run for his money. A very evenly matched series, but in the end, you could just see the inevitability on Maru's side. He runs over Byul, and that finally ends his losing streak. He's going to be a little bit happier about that, and we will get to hear from him with an interview coming out. But first, we have to interview ourselves.
It's funny that they choose Maru to do the interview, by the way. Just saying. But it does make sense because whoever wins this game, whoever would have won that game, is no longer winless. So it's pretty cool that we do get to hear from Maru, maybe get some of his thoughts about his current form, what he's feeling. He is walking over there ever so slowly.
Shaking some hands.
It seems like he received a gift. I don't know what it is. But
I think he was supposed to take the microphone from that AD, but instead doesn't. So
took the gift instead.
Yeah, he takes the gift instead of the microphone. It's like, well, I mean, if you have to choose, I guess the gift is the better thing to take. But
you can always use Hyungung's mic. I mean, he'll be fine. He'll figure it out.
All right. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna pick up the. Wait, no, they're not transferring the mic. I don't know what's happening with that. But either way, we will get a chance to hear from Maru here in a second. Really interesting to see his mindset and how he felt going through such a grueling series.
Congratulations. You win. First win after a couple of losses. How do you feel?
2연패 중이어서 꼭 이겨야겠다고 왔는데 이겨서 다행인 것 같아요.
Says I'm very delighted. I really felt like I needed the win because I lost 2 in a row. In that final set, you did a great job in containing Byul on his side of the map on Overgrowth.
제가 연습 때 이렇게
You did a lot with
해봤는데
your Widowmines.
전차보다는 이게 더
So
좋은
what was
것
the
같아요.
decision making behind your plays? Says in practice, he feels like the Widow Mines are more effective than the tanks. So instead of building tanks against that composition, still went for the Widow Mines, and it worked out.
일단 프로스트란 맵이 3배럭 사신하기 너무 좋아가지고.
What about your strong recent focus on Reapers? What do you have to say about that? Well, it was on the map Frost, so that's one of the best maps for that early Reaper style. Especially because I didn't really have any other regular standard strategies for Frost, so that seemed like the obvious choice for me.
제가 방송 경기만 하면 손도 떨리고 긴장도 너무 많이
loss against Byul. It seemed like you have had somewhat of a missed timing.
안 나오는 것 같아서 많이 걱정이네요.
Maru says, I think my one loss was because it was a broadcasted match. He says, whenever I play in a broadcasted match, I can't even play at 10% of my practice level. So, Maru, after many years getting nervous on the broadcast. Don't know how that's possible. So Maru says, any words to the fans? He says, well, I got my first win, so I'm going to make this one count and try to win the rest of my leftover matches so I can get into a good spot. So guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have Innovation versus Dark.